In EOS, your documented processes ensure that your business runs the same every single time. You have a system for your onboarding of clients, maybe fulfilling orders, managing support, but what about your finances? How does the money move through your business? How do you pay yourself? How do you save for taxes? How do you build that buffer or distribute profit? If those answers live in your head, in a notebook, or get made up on the spot every time, then your financial process isn't a process. It's just a pattern you're hoping you don't forget. So let's fix that. Here's how you systematize your money like you systematize everything else in your business. And that starts with step one. It's about identifying your recurring money flows. These usually include the revenue allocation, so when money comes in, things like tax savings, your owner's pay, your debt payments, operating expenses, maybe building an emergency fund or a buffer account. All of those key pieces are important when you're starting to operationalize your SOPs for your finances. Then step two is documenting what should happen. And you don't want to overcomplicate this. Just write down what you want to happen every single time money comes in. Let's use a real world example based on the map you're seeing here on the screen. This business brings in about $40,000 a month in revenue and has set up accounts for the rules that run inside of it, just like what we talked about beforehand, for their operating expenses, their business savings, their owner's pay, their taxes, and their debt payoff. Just as a quick refresher, owner's pay is $8,000 per month. The business wants to set aside 30% of all revenue towards a dedicated tax account for all incoming deposits. The business savings, they're putting 10% of their money until it reaches $100,000, and I'll show you exactly how we do that. Their business credit card is $1,500 for fixed monthly debt payment, and they want to make sure that everything else is going towards that business loan and the line of credit. And the business operating expenses get the remainder of all of those funds that come in on a monthly basis. This gives us a clean, prioritized system. And again, we can take a quick look. We can click in and see all those rules. Every single time money's deposited into the revenue account, 30% is going into the business taxes. After that, on the last day of the month, every single month, we're going to have this set of rules run. 10% is going to the debt payoff, 10% is going to the business savings, $8,000 going to the owner's pay, and every single other dollar is going to the operating expense account. And now, in this case, they wanted to fill up their business savings account up to $100,000. So I can show you exactly how we can add that condition so that we're making sure that we're putting 10% in every single time until we get to that $100,000 threshold goal that they have. So we're going to simply add a condition. If the balance of the business savings account is less than a set amount of $100,000, this is going to happen. These set of rules, the 10% to the debt payoff, the 10% to the business savings, the $8,000 to owner's pay, and everything else going to the business operating account. Now, we just simply click in the else piece, which allows us to say, if it's over $100,000, well, what do we want to happen? Well, we pretty much want the same set of things to happen. In this situation, though, we're going to, instead of the 10% going to business savings, we're going to add it to our debt payoff so we can continue to accelerate that debt payoff. So we're going to transfer a fixed amount of 20% to our debt payoff. We're going to add another rule where the $8,000 goes to the owner's pay. And lastly, we're going to transfer 100% of the remainder into our operating account. And so now we're going to continue to be putting money into that business savings account until it reaches the $100,000 threshold, at which point the money that was going into that account is now being put towards the debt to further accelerate that debt payoff. And this gives us a clean, prioritized system that allows us to accomplish all of those goals. It pays for the fixed expenses and the savings goal get funded first. The debt's going to be reduced consistently, the owner gets paid on time, and the rest is left for our operating expenses, which gives us that natural constraint to watch for profitability. Now, step three is about building those rules, which I really just showed you because we want to build the rules inside a sequence to automate each of those steps. Step two is effectively about writing those rules down, and step three is about building them into the system as we just saw. And so again, we're going to walk through this example and we're going to actually add another step because in this scenario, we're going to still use that same $40,000 a month in revenue. And the business owner wants to pay themselves $8,000 a month. They want to set aside 30% for taxes. They want to build and maintain that $100,000 buffer in the business savings account and ensure that we always have that $15,000 in the operating expense account. We're also going to add in the $15,000 a month is going to go towards the business line of credit. So you can see I've added in a few liabilities that they have here, a business loan, a line of credit, and a business credit card. And the other new piece that we're going to add in is a new goal of sending $2,000 a month to the team as a bonus fund so that they can pay that out quarterly. So let's take a look at how we would do all of those key pieces. So as we saw, all of the money is going to be deposited into the business revenue account. Rule 1 is about sending 30% of that money every single time it's received into the business taxes. So whether you're getting $1 into the account or $100,000 or $1 million into the account, we're going to run that rule every single time money hits the business revenue account. The rest of our rules, rule 2, is going to focus on the end of the month. So we did a time-based rule where we have these rules set up. Revenue is scheduled on the last day of the month. So in this case, we're going to add in that condition where if the business savings is less than $100,000, we're going to make sure that 10% goes to the debt payoff, 10% to the business savings, $8,000 to the owner's pay, and everything else going to our business operating expenses. And as we just saw, if the account is over $100,000, so the alternate scenario, we're going to have 20% going to the debt payoff, $8,000 again to the owner's pay, and everything else going to the business operating expenses. Now, I want to show you how to sync up the business lines of credit and the debts that they want to pay off, because that's an important piece that we want to make sure that we're always reducing our debt as we want to build our wealth, both as a business and individually. So for rule 4, what we want to do here is on the 5th day of each month, we're going to move that $1,500 to our business loan account. So we're having money deposited into the debt payoff bucket every single month. And now for our business loan, what we want to make sure we do is trigger by date, because this is due on the 5th of each month. We're going to send this money over and we're going to transfer a fixed amount of $1,500 to that account. Now with the money that's left over, because more than $1,500 is going into our debt payoff bucket every single month, we're going to create another rule and we're going to put 50%. Now when it comes to the rest of the debt, we have a couple different options. We can execute the debt avalanche or the debt snowball. We can pay the current balance, a percent of the liability, the minimum payment due. We can do all sorts of different options. In this case, I'm going to use the debt snowball. And if you're not familiar with debt snowball, what that means is it's going to look at the remaining liabilities that we have. It's going to order them from lowest balance to highest balance. It's going to pay the minimum payment on each of those accounts that's due, and then it's going to take whatever money's left over and put it towards the lowest remaining balance. The thought is that you're building a snowball, so as you pay off the lower balance cards or lines of credit, it's going to continue to push the rest of that money to the next highest liability that you have. So in this case, we're going to do 100% of the remainder into the business line of credit. We're going to add an account, and we're going to add our credit card as well. So just like that, every single month we have money going, the $1,500 going to the business loan, and we have a debt snowball between the last two, the line of credit and the business credit card. In this case, it'll pay off the business credit card and put the rest of the money towards the line of credit. Now remember, we also wanted to add another rule, which was about the $2,000 to our bonus reserve account. We want to pay that out every single quarter. That's the business owner's goal. So I'm going to show you how we do that. So in this case, we're going to create a pod. We're going to call this our bonus pool. We're going to add this in, and then we just need to click on one of our existing rules. And so now that we're back in this rule, we have two sets: the condition for if the savings account is under $100,000 as well as if it's over $100,000. So we want this to run no matter what. So we're going to add that in. We're going to say transfer a fixed amount of $2,000 towards our bonus pool. And the important piece here is we want to actually move this rule up, because what we had is 100% of the remainder going to the business operating expenses, which wouldn't leave us $2,000 for the bonus pool. So I'm simply dragging that up, and now it will run these rules in order. Lastly, I checked the transfer up to. That means in case there isn't enough money to run it fully, if there's only $1,800 left at this point, well, we want to make sure that we're putting some money into that bonus pool, and everything else will be going to the business operating expenses. Again, you can customize this however you'd want. Perhaps you want a specific amount going into the business operating expenses above the bonus pool. Not a problem. You just simply click into here, transfer a fixed amount, and drag that rule to prioritize it with any additional dollars going into the business bonus pool. And I'll show you that exactly, just so you can get a look. Let's say that you wanted to make sure that every single month you have $5,000 going into the operating expenses. Not a problem. And we can even transfer a percentage of the remainder, in this case 100% of the remainder, into the bonus pool with a limit of $2,000 per month. And we can do 100% of whatever's left going back into the business operating expenses. So just like that, in this new set of rules, if it's under $100,000, 10% is going to debt payoff, 10% to the business savings, $8,000 to owner's pay, $5,000 to our business operating expenses. We've got 100% of the remainder going to our bonus pool, but we're going to limit that to $2,000 per month. So if there's another $10,000 left over, it'll just put $2,000 in. And then all of that extra money will be going into our business operating account. And all we need to do is just duplicate that rule down here. 20% is going to the debt payoff because we're no longer funding the savings account for the business. We've got $8,000 going to owner's pay. And I'll just simply add in those additional rules, the $5,000 into our operating expenses, 100% of the remainder going into our bonus pool with a limit of $2,000 per month. And lastly, 100% of the remainder going into our business operating expenses. And one last thing, because I changed this from the 100% to a fixed amount of $5,000, I'm just going to simply delete that rule. So now if the business savings account is over $100,000, what will happen is 20% goes to the debt payoff, $8,000 to the owner's pay, $5,000 to the operating expenses. We have 100% of the remainder going to the bonus pool, but we're capping that at $2,000 per month. And then all of the remaining money, if there's any money left over, goes to our business operating expenses. So now in this situation, if the business savings account is over $100,000, we have all of the same rules applying, except we're taking that money that was supposed to go into the business savings and putting it into our debt payoff to further accelerate that debt payoff. So now in the case where it's over $100,000 in business savings, we have 20% going to debt payoff, $8,000 going to owner's pay, $5,000 to the business operating expenses, and whatever's left over, up to $2,000 is going to the bonus pool. If it's over $2,000, so we're able to fully fund the bonus pool, well then every other dollar or 100% of the remaining balance goes back into the business operating expenses. Simply click save, and just like that, we've set up the system. Each of these rules runs automatically. You don't need to log in, you don't need to make decisions. You just check your weekly financial level 10 to confirm that everything executed as you expected. And here's the best part. Once these workflows are set, your sequence setup becomes your financial documentation. You can hand this off to your bookkeeper, your operations manager, or your integrator. Everyone knows what money is supposed to go where and when it's going to get there. That means fewer mistakes, less stress, and more consistency to your finances. And in the next video, we'll talk about how to set the 90-day financial rocks and how to use the automation to make sure that you actually hit your goals. So remember, take control of your money. Go check out Sequence today.